Okay, perfect. We have started. Welcome, everyone. We're going to wait for a couple of minutes before we get everybody joining. Just bear with us. While you wait, please make sure you have access to all the following resources. So GitLab.com account, your Play Instruct, and GitHub.com account as well. Welcome again to those of you joined us. Make sure that your pre-work is complete and you have access to a GitLab.com account, that you have an account with Instruct and GitHub.com account. And we're going to start shortly, a couple of minutes. I'm just going to give one more minute to everyone else, and we're going to start. Okay, well, I think we are good to go. Everyone else that will join us a bit later will have to catch up a bit. But we have a team of QA support here that I'm going to introduce a bit later. So we should be okay. So today we're going to go over a GitHub to GitLab workshop. We're going to show you how to create a project, migrate it over. But before we get there, I just want to introduce myself. My name is Gregory Shabenkov. I'm Customer Success Manager at GitLab. I've been with the company for about a year. I come from Ireland. I come from Ireland. And before that, I was working at Salesforce as a technical account manager. So excited to have you on board. I also have my colleague, Ted, who's a solution architect, who will be taking the second part of the workshop, which is the most interesting part, where you get to learn about actually GitLab. Right? So I'm going to go through all the migration, all the technical stuff, all the setup, and Ted gets to do all the good stuff. So Ted, over to you, just to quickly introduce yourself.
Awesome. So hello, everyone. My name is Ted. As mentioned, I'm a solution architect at GitLab, and I've been here for about 3 months now. Before this, I started off my career as a software engineer before moving to solution architecture, where I've been helping customers from small startups to larger enterprises find technical solutions for their business problems. So that's a little bit about myself. Handing it back to you.
Thank you, Ted. Appreciate that. Good to have you. So just in terms of the housekeeping, how we're going to structure the workshop, I'm going to give you all the information you need. I'm going to show you how the setup is done. We also have chat and QA. So if you have any questions, please do use QA part of it, not the chat. And that way, everyone else who's a participant will be able to see the questions. A recording of the workshop will also be available and sent you via email after a few days from the end of today's session. You also will have access for 2 days to all the platforms that you have Instruct, which is our infrastructure, and GitLab.com with all the ultimate capabilities. So even if you don't get to do everything, if you run out of time or if you're unable to, you'll be able to take your work up home and finish it up. That shouldn't be a problem. So now I think we are good to go over the workshop agenda. So as I've mentioned, we're going to do the lab setup. We're going to go over all the resources that you need. Then we're going to set up the migration. And then we're going to do GitHub to GitLab migration itself. We're going to set up GitLab agent for Kubernetes. And then at that moment, I will give it over to Ted to go over getting started with GitLab. And then later on, you will be able to transfer your project to your own account and be able to play with it later on and kind of learn and do what you will with it. So that's an important step so that all your good work is not lost throughout the day. So in terms of the lab setup, so this is the part we're at now. So if you haven't logged into your GitLab.com account, so please do that now. So you will need to either register or just put in your username and email and sign in. So this is one of the prerequisites. We need a username from there as well in order to proceed. So once you do that, you will be able to go to GitLab demo.com account and redeem this invitation code. So we go back. This is what you'll be seeing. This is where we need to go, GitLab.com account. And if I exit out, I'm going to copy the code, go back to this page. I'm going to click on redeem invitation code and put that in. And what you would want to do is after that provision training environment. So I'm going to click that and go back to the slide so everyone has this visible to them. If you have any questions, use the Q&A function and then we'll be able to continue. I'm just going to pause here for a second because a lot, this is one of the points that, requires more time. So perfect. Now that we're here, this is your invitation code that you've copied over. So what we'll need is your GitLab.com username. So I'm going to show you how to get that. So if we go to GitLab.com account. So we click, if you've already logged in, you'll be able to click on your logo top right corner. And this is what we need. So yours will be different. So we need G-Schlapping-Kopf, right, in this case. And you'll be able to just type that in, right? G-Schlapping-Kopf, and you'll be ready to go. And if I show you as well one more time, you'll put the invitation code. You will get your username from top right corner once you click on your icon within your GitLab.com account. And you will put your GitLab.com username without the @, without the slashes, without anything else, without the spaces. So once you get there, you should be able to click provision training environment. So which is something we're going to do. Awesome. So if you're here, that means half the setup is done. Awesome. So you should be able to click on this link and open a new tab. Brilliant. So this is where we are, and we can leave it at that for now. We don't need to use it anymore for now. So if I show you the slides again, this is what you'll be seeing. Click on this GitLab URL, and this is the page that you should be in. So what should be the same for everyone is my test group, and then that name that you're seeing, IUZ5DNTU, that will be different. So that would be a unique name generated for yourself. That is the only thing that is going to be different from that perspective. If, however, you are seeing the screen, do let us know, put something in the chat, put something in Q&A, let us know if you're having a problem, and we're going to show you how to do that. Again, so you'll either need to go back to your GitLab.demo.com account and put in your username again and the code, and then that usually fixes the problem. So as I'm not seeing any questions or anything else, I'm assuming everyone's good to go. Everyone's up to the stage. So I'm just going to continue. And if you do, please do ask questions. So this is where we are. For this particular workshop, we will be using our new IDE that was recently launched. So we were very excited about it. It's really cool. and it should be enabled by default in your project, in the project that you've just created, your group to be exact. So, however, if you feel free to use the older version. It's not prerequisite to this workshop, but it isn't enabled by default. Now, so if we're all set up, I don't see anyone asking any questions, so it's a good sign. So what we'll need to do is we'll need to copy this, and this is our second platform. This is our infrastructure. This is where our basically instructions for the workshop are going to be. So what you need to do is just open that link and click accept. You'll be able to log in. If you haven't, if not, you'll need to set up a new account for that. And once you go through it, you will see that particular page. So that, in essence, is our step-by-step instructions, basically, right? So what we want to click on step 1, step 2, and we'll see what we'll need to do then. But we're not going to do just that. Just wanted you kind of to get used to the platforms, right? So the first one is this GitLab.com account. The second one is instruct in the link that we've shared. And if you're stuck, let us know. It's important that you have them both so that we're able to continue.
Hey, Greg.
Yeah.
Could you just quickly re-walk through the redemption steps?
Yep.
Just you could just do the slides.
Yeah, sure, absolutely. For those that were late or just not sure. So you'll need to go to your GitLab.com account. If you haven't logged in, please put your username and email, and then your password, and sign in. So that'll be your first step, because we will need your username from there. Then the second step is to go to your GitLabDemo.com account. And what you'll see is this page on the right-hand side, and we want to click on the blue button below, Redeem Invitation Code. And we want to copy this code that you see on the screen. It is in your chat as well. Yeah, and if you get a login page for Instruct, that means you need to register as well. But for now, we're on GitLabDemo.com. You copy this, and you go to the second page that you'll see invitation code. You put the code in, redeem and create the account. The invitation code is the same. Now, what you will need is here on this page, you will need your invitation code again, right? You will see it here, and also your GitLab.com username. And that could be taken from your GitLab.com account. Right on side, you'll see your logo if you're logged in already. And what we want is everything to the right of the @ So we take that, we put that in, and you will be able to see the screen over here. Sorry. Yeah. And what we want is a GitLab URL. If you're on that screen, that means you're good to go, you're set up, and you're able to continue with us. So if you're not on this screen, do let us know so we can help you. I can show you some of the steps again if you're not sure. Okay, well, I think we're good to go. Okay, perfect. So now, anyone else having trouble with logging into Instruct? Anyone that doesn't have this screen with introduction and this screen, GitLab.com? Raise your hand or put something in chat just to let us know that you're not able to access this, because then we're going to continue. Okay, well, I take it as a good sign. Brilliant. Now, so we're going to continue with the slides just to make sure that everything is okay. So if you have any questions in Instruct, so Instruct is our step-by-step, right? So what credentials do you use for Instruct? You can, so you will need to, you'll need to create your credentials, right? So it will ask you, for example, so let me, I can do this for you again. Let me find the link to Instruct. So if I open in incognito mode, this is what you'll see. Essentially, it's asking you for your first and last name, email address. So you'll be able to, that. You submit an access, and then you'll be able to that page. No worries. Okay, perfect. Should take you a minute or so to get there. In terms of how we would like questions for you to ask us in terms of instruct, is if you can just point us towards the question. So step 01, create the workshop project, for example. And if you're not sure about that step, just let us know where you are, right? Step 01.1, this is where I'm having trouble, so we can help you to answer that, right? So this is what I want to show here. Just in terms of the instruct itself, this is basically our infrastructure. The platform itself will reset in 3 hours. So if you're not done the whole setup in 3 hours, you will need to do it all again. So whether the whole platform will be accessible to you for 48 hours. So if you don't finish anything today, you're more than welcome to do this in your free time. And yeah, it usually takes about 15 minutes for instruct for infrastructure to set up. So you have access denied for instruct. Okay. Right. That's something that our QA can help you. Maybe you can show them a code, and we can see what's happening. So I think, at this point, and anyone else has any issues? If we can help, if we can have that one person with the access denied for instructs, but I think other than that, we don't have anyone else with this issue. I think we can just continue to the kind of introduction of GitLab and I think the industry. So before we get to the actual workshop, I want to do a bit of a introduction. So just to go over again, you should have access to your GitLab.com account and also your instruct platform, which is, so what we're going to do is we're going to read the instructions in instruct, and then on the left-hand side, we're going to perform the steps in GitLab account so that it makes sense. So it's always helpful to separate them either in two windows, or if you have one screen next to each other, so that you can read the steps on the right-hand side and then follow. So just what I find useful going forward. But yeah, I think we are good to go. And at this point, just wanted to do a bit of introduction in terms of what we are seeing in the industry out there and why we're here. So let me, yeah. So basically, what you see this on the slide, I absolutely love it, is what represents kind of software development lifecycle, different stages. And what we're seeing is in every stage that could represent a different team, a different application, and usually it's all sort of taped together, somehow integrated in that way that is not really work, right? Obviously results in delays and errors, multiple handoff, complexity and risks, and lack of control. And this is something that we would want to get away if you're seeing something like that within your company. So you may be wondering what would be the correct way to do this, right? And it's interesting to look back and see how the DevOps industry has evolved. And I think it all started with bring your own DevOps. And what you're seeing on the left-hand side is many different applications and many different teams using different tools in the software development lifecycle. But that created silos, right? The teams weren't integrated with each other; they weren't working, and nobody knew how the other tools worked. So that really didn't work. Then the second stage, the best-in-class DevOps tools came, standardization, and that led to companies choosing on companies like Datadog, Asana, Splunk, Jenkins, GitHub, what have you. And that solved some problems because there were less tools to work with, but essentially it's still the same problems remains. Integrations, silos, and teams not talking to each other. So then that led to do-it-yourself DevOps. So companies realized, right, so we need to connect all the way together. So how do we do that? So let's build integrations. So let's connect Datadog to Asana, to Atlassian, to what have you. But that really didn't solve any problems, because if you build integrations with tools that are not meant to each other, that are not meant to talk to each other, that creates the same problems. So what if that person that was maintaining the integration leaves the company? Who's going to do it then, right? All those upgrades, delays, security risks, all that did not solve the main issue. And this is where the DevOps platform comes in. GitLab, it's a single DevOps platform. It's a single application with all the different stages of software development lifecycle in one platform. What you're seeing tools, I think it'll be interesting to show the next slide, is you're seeing all the different tools below Git-Prime, Jenkins, JFrog, and then they present a specific stage at GitLab as one platform. And so from the very top, for example, if we see that compliance would be interested in managing stage, product managers would be in the planning, whether it be then developers would be creating the code, also verifying it. Security would be looking at packages, security, platform engineers and configuring and monitoring, and again, security, I'll be looking at protecting. So the difference is, in order not to have about 20 different tools, GitLab offers it all in the one platform, one database, one kind of onboarding solution, one permission model, all in one place for companies to work. So single platform allows you to do it all without needing all the time spent maintaining integrations. Another way I love looking at this is GitLab as a kind of software factory. If you think about, let's say, Toyota and a car being produced, for example, right? And then it's the same thing. So one single factory, you have materials, goes exactly the same way with developers that are working on the code. We've got project managers that are planning, then we've got software configurations, and it goes all the way to automated delivery and users. And the same thing that you see in a normal factory, where everything is seen, everything is transparent, and if anything happens, everyone gets to know that something has stopped, right? Because production has stopped, we're all working on resolution. This is where the DevSecOps kind of term comes in, where we've got different teams working together, developers, operations, security in one factory. So I absolutely love that. So if we kind of continue with the workshop, so in the first part, what we're going to do is we'll focus on the actual migration process of moving your application from GitHub to GitLab. So, and then the part two that Ted is going to show us is we're going to focus on the benefits of using GitLab DevSecOps toolchain. You actually get to use the tool and see how it works. So it's exciting. So let's actually go ahead and set up the migration part of it. So kind of before we get there, so I just wanted you to get familiar with a couple of term differences. So what we call at GitLab is a merge request. You might know in the industry as a pull request. And what does that really mean? It's a request to merge a feature branch into the official main branch. The project is known as a repository in the industry. It really means a container including a Git repo. Right, and groups probably don't have a reference, and I'm going to show you kind of what they are as well in an example. But we use groups and subgroups to create a hierarchical structure. So everything's set with a group and a subgroup, then a project, and then issues, and then I missed epics there as well. So we're going to run the migration on instruct. So now that everyone has access to both platforms, let's actually go ahead and apply them. So what would be great if we had one screen to this side. So let me show you as an example, and we're going to separate them in two so that we can follow the steps, and it should be easier for us to follow for myself and for yourself as to what we are doing. So yeah, almost done with that. So now, so in order for us to actually get started, we'll need to navigate to GitHub tab on the Instruct UI. So okay. So at this point, you also should have access to your GitHub account, because this is the idea. We're going to be transferring your GitHub project to GitLab. So you'll need to click on this link within. Right? So the step 01, creating your workshop project. So we're at a step 2, github.com Tanuki Learn Workshop project. So if you were somewhere else, go ahead and reroute yourself to that URL. That's what you see here. So you should be seeing this screen over here and instruct on the right-hand side. Right. From here, as we're following the steps, you can also be doing the same thing. You can be reading them and doing them with me. You should see this part over here. So we're going to use this template, and we're going to go ahead and create a new repository. Brilliant. So we are going to name it Workshop Project webpage. Okay, so just going to copy that. Yeah, awesome. Will be created. So what we want is to leave it public. So what does it say? Yes, create repository from template. Awesome. So we're going to click that. Thank you. We also like GitLab. Appreciate that. So once we have it created, awesome, we have a sample project for you to transfer. Now, what we would want is to create an issue as well. So if we go to the issues part, we'll create a new issue, and we're going to call it migrating project to GitLab as well. So let's do that. And can't wait to see how this migration works as well. So let's do that. And we're going to submit new issue. Awesome. So just as an example, so that part is done. Now we will need to create an access token as well. Okay, so perfect. So the workshop issue created. Okay, perfect. So what we need to do in drop down, click on the settings. Awesome. So we click on the settings. We go all the way. Then we click on the settings, and we want to click developer settings. So let me go ahead and find them. It's been a while since I've been in the. Okay. So let me search that. Right. Okay, so we're in a workshop web page. Okay, we go to settings. Okay.
Greg, your dev settings are if you click your icon in the top right.
Yeah. Oh yeah, here. Fair enough.
Then
Yes.
settings.
Sorry. Yeah, that helps. Appreciate that. And developer settings over here. Yeah. Awesome. So from here, we would want to go to personal access tokens, to token classics. So this is the old one. I don't want that one. So we want to create a new token, and we want to create new token classic. So we're going to do that. It's asking me for the password. Brilliant. Okay. Let me go back. So feel free to go ahead and just create the token classics. So I'm just gonna try and figure out. Yeah. Oh my God. It's asking me for the password. Anyways, feel free to continue while I'll kind of solve that. You will copy your token value and save it somewhere, and you will need it later in the track. And then as you finish the challenge, you can go ahead and click on the next as well. So I'm hoping I don't have to do this, but okay. Let me go ahead and try that password. Okay, so okay. Right, and the last one is, let me just try and help me solve the challenge right here. I think, yeah, that didn't work. To be honest, let me just go ahead and maybe just log in with a different account altogether. So that is just faster than looking at that. Because this doesn't matter which account I use, to be honest. Yeah, so we go back to the project. We go back to the settings. We go back to the developer settings, access token, classic, during new token. Awesome. So brilliant. We've passed that now. So let's just call it GitLab expiration. Let's say set it 7 days, repo, and then we go ahead and create the new token. So awesome. We can copy that. So we have it. Brilliant. And then we go ahead and finish the challenge. So that way we know that we've done the first part of it. So now, in this particular challenge, we'll walk you through migrating your version of workshop project, and we're going to migrate it to GitLab. Now, so now we're going to go back to our GitLab group and the one that you redeem. So make sure you are in this GitLab group, not in any other group or any other place, and maybe in your personal space that you've created. It needs to be exactly this GitLab Learn Lab Environment session. And this is the code that you would have entered. And this is going to be a unique group name for you. So mine is going to be 8x and yours is going to be slightly different. So once we're here, we're going to click new project, and we're going to import new project. So we are going to choose GitHub option over here, as it says. So we're going to GitHub so we want to select from. Okay. Then so what you should be seeing is authentication, because I've done this before, it didn't ask me, but you should be seeing an option here that you'll need to click authenticate and then wait for the connection to finish. So what you want is to import issues, pull requests, click all that here, and then click on the import. So that will take a couple moments. And it usually takes about a minute or so to complete. Awesome. So we can look at the details. So one of issues have been transferred. Brilliant. So it looks like we have imported this. So what we can do here is we can click on this link over here, and we will be able to go to our new project. As you can see, this is gitlab.com, GitLab Learn Labs environment session. This is the invitation code, your unique group ID, and the workshop project webpage that we have just transferred over from GitHub account. So if I go back, this was over here. Now it is in GitLab. So we don't need the GitHub account anymore at this point. So we are good to go. So what we can go ahead and we can look at on the left-hand side, if we go to repository, actually, and then slightly below that, you will see issues, migrating projects to GitLab. So we can see that we've successfully migrated this particular issue. So we can go ahead and close the issue. We can put some comment and say, hey, awesome. It was actually pretty quick. Brilliant. So that issue now is closed. So, which is great. And that solving the issue would be step number 3. So if I go back again on the left-hand side, you click on the issues, and you will see an issue that we've migrated. You choose that and solve it. Yeah, do let us know where you have your access denied, so we can help you, whether it's in GitLab or somewhere else. So at this point, we've completed the step number, sort of the session number 2, and we can finish the challenge. So if you have any questions, let us know, and I can show you some of the steps again. So you should see this, please wait while we set up the next challenge. You start. So at that moment, we should be able to continue. So now we're going to go ahead and set up the Kubernetes agent. So, but let's actually go back to our slides and let's see what we missed. So now we've done the lab setup, or we talked about migration setup, and we just migrated from GitHub to GitLab project. Now, just a couple of things around what can be imported from GitHub to GitLab: reports to descriptions, Git data, pull requests, a whole list of things. You also get a copy of that within a couple of days from this workshop, so I don't need to write this down. But it's quite a large amount of things that gets imported. So in this example, we went over kind of a project or repository. So, and we can transfer it either from github.com or GitHub Enterprise as well. And we can do this either to gitlab.com or self-manage GitLab instance. So what we've done is we've transferred from github.com to gitlab.com. So, but there are options available if you wanted to take a look at that. So now that we've done, so the next part is just to talk about the GitLab agent for Kubernetes. So this is the fourth part of the workshop. So this is part 2. I want to stop here for a second and see if you have any questions. I know we have one access denied issue here. I think it's an instruct. So maybe that's due to the network. But anyone else has any questions, do let us know. We'll try and help you out. And if not, then we will continue. Okay, right. So I think all the questions, Logan has already answered a question to that end. So I think we're good to go. So in this part 2, we've got our project to GitLab, and now we obviously need to connect it to infrastructure somehow in order to be able to deploy application and use the security scanners and show you the power that GitLab can do. So it's going to be very, very easy to get started with CI and CD in our auto DevOps. So this is where we are now. So I suppose every other solution is a point solution for GitOps, but what we're going to do is we're going to install GitLab agents for Kubernetes, and what it does is it creates a bidirectional connection between the cluster and GitLab. So basically, it looks for a file, it looks at instructions, and if there's any updates to in the file to infrastructure, and it goes ahead and changes the infrastructure to that end. So this is a kind of typical example of architecture where we have a Kubernetes cluster. On that cluster, we install GitLab agents for Kubernetes, and then we have kind of an API bi-directional streaming, where that now is connected to our kind of database and GitLab Ruby on Rails to an API call. And that's just a bit of our architecture here. Just in terms of the agents, we have 2 options. So we have a push-based GitOps version here and a pull-based. So with a push-based GitOps, we have a code repository where we are saving our, I suppose, kind of instructions, right? A declarative statement, and then we are pushing it out through CI and CD to the cloud. And also the pull-based GitOps, which is what we're doing through also Kubernetes, where we have the agent that is looking at the file in the code repo and looking at the changes, if there's any changes, and then go ahead and applies them. So those are the kind of the major differences between the 2 versions. But I think at this point, let's just kind of go ahead, look at the instructions, and set this up. So we should be in our GitLab Learn Labs. So if we go to my test group. So if you're unsure about how to navigate, you see the breadcrumbs, top left corner, show all the breadcrumbs. You click on that and you'll see the full path. So GitLab, Learn Labs, environments, session, my test group. So it's important to know where you are, because you will need to know whether you're in a group or a project. And one of the ways to tell is if you are in a group, then it will say here subgroup information left on left-hand side. So if we click on a project over here, it will say project information. So this is how we know that we're either in a project or in a group, and we'll be setting up some configurations. So it's important to know the difference. So now that I'm back, I click on the breadcrumbs and I know where I am. On the left-hand side, you have basic kind of UI where you can have access to epics, issues, merge requests, security compliance, CI/CD, and all the rest of the settings. So fairly simple, just if you've never seen the UI. I know some people have and love GitLab, so probably not for you, but just for others that have never used it. So now we are in our step 3. We're going to set up the agent. So now let's go ahead and go to the repository, files, and then click Web IDE. So we go to the workshop project over here. We go to repository, then files, and then click Web IDE. Awesome. So Web IDE is over here. Brilliant. Now, in the step 2, it's asking us, so once in the Web IDE, we want to go to .GitLab agents workshop agent configuration YAML file. So let's find it. So .GitLab agents workshop agent configuration YAML file. We're here. Awesome. Now, so what we want to do is that part is a little bit tricky. So do pay attention, because if you get this right, the rest of the workshop will not be successful. So you'll not be able to complete this. So what we would want is we want to take environments. So everything at the top, right, in your URL, environment session, all the way to your group name, right? So, and we want to copy it here. So it's going to be GitLab Learns Lab environments session, and then the invitation code. So this is exactly going to be the same apart from this. This is your group that is going to be unique to your particular project, but everything else is going to be exactly the same. So all of us should have exactly the same line. So GitLab Learn Labs environment sessions, then invitation code, and then the group name. There shouldn't be any slashes here or anything else in between, no spaces, nothing. If there's anything else, then it will not work, will not be able to connect to our infrastructure. So not trailing spaces, nothing. So I'm just going to pause here for a second, just make sure everyone's up to the stage, because this is a super important step. Get this right, everything should be an absolute breeze from there on. If you have any questions to ask, if you're not sure, I can actually copy this in chat as well, but don't copy the whole thing. Make sure you change your group name as well, and you get that information from the very top. So this is where you take this. So GitLab Learn Labs environment session. This is where you take this. Okay, perfect. So I think we're good to go now. At this point, we've done that. So what we want to go ahead and click on, we're going to put a message, made the changes to config YAML, something like that. YAML changes, and we want to commit and push, and we want to click no use current branch main. So we want to click on that. Awesome. So we've made the changes. After that, we can go ahead and click on the go to the project. So it's going to open up exactly the same projects as we've been working on. So which is great. So now we want to connect the agent to our GCP instance. So on the left-hand side, what we want to do is click on infrastructure, Kubernetes clusters. So we do that. And we want to click on that connect a cluster. And what you'll see here is a workshop agent pre-populated. So then you're going to click register, and you will see, first of all, your access token. And what we want is this command. So what you want is you want to copy this. You want to use this command. So do not copy paste this like that, because you will introduce a number of spaces, so the command will not work. So copy using this command, and go back to your instruct, right? Remember, instruct is our infrastructure. You copy paste this, you copy this command, and you press enter. Awesome. Update complete. Happy helming. Workshop agent does not exist, so it's installing it now. Awesome. So now status is deployed. So I can see that it is working. So at this point, I can close that. I can refresh the page just to confirm that everything has launched. Brilliant. So what we see here, we have a workshop agent, status connected. You see the version, agent ID, and the configuration that we've just done. I'm just going to pause here for just a second to see if any questions on that. If you're stuck or need anything else, because we have just completed step 1 in connecting, and we're going to be going to step 2. Okay, well, I don't see any questions. Brilliant. So we can go ahead. So over here, so what we want is we want to go to GitLab, and we've checked already the status. It's great. Awesome. So now we want to go back to your group. You're going to be in your group, right? So here, subgroup information. That means you're in a group. Awesome. And what we want to do is we want to create a project from a template. So we want to new project. We're going to click right on side. We want to create a project from a template. I can handle the point 2, step 1. Point 2. Okay, actually quickly go back. Point 2, step 1. Point 2. So I've put in, if you could see the link that I've put in. So this is exactly what you need to put in, and you just need to change the name of your group. So, for example, if I go back a step, so this is the name of your group. So you'll need to copy that and change the last part of the message I sent in chat. And then this is how you'll be able to apply the changes. So Dominique as well will be able to help you with that. So I can see that she's typing, so that's great. Now, so we go back to our step 2, step 1. So we're going to be creating a new project. So what we want is create new project. And we want to create from a template. We go all the way down, and we want to find GitLab cluster management. So this is an example project for managing Kubernetes clusters integrated with GitLab. So we're going to use this template. We're going to name it cluster management. Nothing else here needs to be different. So over here, just to make sure that this is created in your group that you've created with us today, right? It's not any of your other projects, any other groups. This is exactly in this particular group that we've created. And as you can see, it is still 8x, right? That means it is correct. So I'm going to create the project. Awesome. So this is step 203. Name the project cluster management, and I click create the project. As well, you can see, we have now 2 projects within our group. So if we go back to our group, my test group, this is the name, this is the cluster management, this is the workshop project page before. So awesome. We go back to the cluster management. Brilliant. And we continue with the rest of the steps. So we'll need to click web ID over here. Awesome. Then we're going to go to repository and files. Okay. And then what we want to find is a Helm file YAML. So this is what we want to go, Helm file YAML file. And what we want to do in here is to just uncomment delete this. So right, that's it. That's all we do. There's nothing else. We want to uncomment line 19 to get the ingress Helm file applied. But that's all we're doing here. We're not changing anything else. That is that. And then we go ahead and put the comments. uncommented line 19. So we're going to go ahead, commit and push, and we're going to use the current branch master. So I'm going to go ahead and do that. So we can go back to the project, and I'm just going to show you one more time how to do that. So you are going to be in your web IDE. Then you're going to go ahead and apply. We're going to go to help file, YAML file, uncomment line 19, and commit and push the changes. That's all you'll be doing here. So once you've done that, so once we've done this, we want to go ahead and click into the GitLab YAML file, and we want to add a new stage before deploy. So we can do it either way. I'm going to do this the old way. Click into the YAML file, click edit, and we're going to add a new stage. So I'm going to put a new space, and it's asking us to put a new stage test. So let's go ahead and commit the changes. We're going to target master. Okay, so it says CI configuration is valid. It's brilliant. So we get some feedback from GitLab as well. So we've done that. Now we go back to the project, and we can go to, and after that, to CI and CD to pipelines. Right, and we can see that our pipeline is running after we have made the changes to our GitLab.ci YAML file. Let's check if everything's fine. And we have 3 different jobs here. Once the diff job completes, you'll be able to then manually click on the sync job after it's done. So usually that takes a couple of minutes for it to complete. And once that does, then yeah, we're going to be able to do step 3, setting the Kubernetes ingress. And after that, yeah, it's going to be pretty quickly onwards to actually using GitLab. Right, now, let's just see, there's something failed. Oh, yeah, press reset. So something tells me then I might have made a minor mistake in the agent setup. So if I go back to the test group, I'm just going to check quickly what has happened. Okay, in the configuration file. So we have, okay, GitLab Learn Labs environment session for the code. So from that perspective, that looks good. Okay, let's rerun this and see if this works. Anyone else has any problems? Anyone else gotten to the stage and has had the diff failed? Any feedback there from anyone? I should click into the diff job and actually see. So GitLab Learn Labs. So it actually says, so no context exists for that. So actually, yeah, a good opportunity to troubleshoot this as well. Okay. Let me go ahead and copy this again. So maybe we've yeah, exactly. Let us know in the comments if you are running into any issues. So let me go to Web IDE again. Look at GitLab configuration file and everything.
So Greg, I think it's because of the name of your project. You go ahead and change that, it should work.
Oh, you mean because of this name here over here?
No, so at the top level, if you go back to your project view, right
Over
there,
here?
it's called the workshop project web page. It has
Oh,
to
I
be
see.
called workshop project.
Oh, I see. Fair enough. So I guess I copied the wrong thing. Okay, so from here,
And you can do that in the general settings.
general settings. Go back. Yeah, so if we fix that, awesome. So we save the changes. Awesome. Thank you, Logan. Appreciate it.
You will have to change the path too, I believe. which is if you just scroll down here,
Okay.
advanced, and change path. Yeah, just take off the dash web page.
Yeah, awesome. So we change path as well. So if you're running into any issues, so I'm stuck at step 3. I put this as a path. Environments. So yeah, you actually need to put in, let me go back and I'll show you. So I think we've done that. In the path, you need to put in, so GitLab learn labs environment session, and then your code and your group name. So it should look like that, with your group name being different, of course, as well. So yeah, hopefully that works for you now. So if we go back now to the diff job, and then we go ahead and actually restart this now. Okay, we'll go to pipelines, and let's actually take a look. It should be fine. The Omni, yeah, I know that Dominique is helping you. Anyone else has failed in the step? Anyone else has any issues? Let us know. Okay, so we're just waiting for the diff job to complete. Just refresh this. Okay. Let's actually look at the logs, see what it says. Preparing the environment. Okay. Yeah, so that worked now. So yeah, the naming conventions should be correct. So after that, we can actually click on the sync as well. Yeah, so GitLab Learn Labs. Yeah, but yeah. So if you look at the chat, it should be exactly that without any spaces or dots or anything else, or slashes. So so we click on the sync as well. The sync job is running. Okay, brilliant. So that part is completed. So just a minute or so to get the ingress how file it's going to be applied, and we're going to then be able to run this command in step 3, part 2. So what we need to do is the same thing, copy, and we will need to put it in our instruct platform to get the results. So it's a bit early for me now. Let's see if it completed. Not just yet. Let's look at the logs. Preparing Docker machine executor. Okay, yeah, okay, I think we are good to go now. So that's done. Not yet. Yeah, so the sync job is complete. So now we can run this command. We can take this from the second part. Run the command. Brilliant. So then let me make this slightly bigger. So we're just pending the IP address. So run this again. Okay. All right, it's not ready yet. Just give it a second. Yeah, perfect. Now it takes a couple of minutes or so. Now what we're interested in is this IP address. And what we want to do this is just copy it. And what we want to do is go back to your GitLab tab and go to the group. So yours is going to be a little bit different. So we are now clicking back. If you're unsure how to do that, top right, top left, breadcrumbs, and that way you know you're at a group level. So now, after that, so we can go to settings and then CI and CD after this. And that what we want to do is expand the variables and just have to make sure that this is indeed at your group, not at the project, right? So if you're not in one of your cluster management or the web application projects, it has to be within your group. So what you want to do is you want to add the variable and we want to put in, first of all, the value of that IP address. So then we want to, untick protect variable and unmask. And first of all, we're going to name it. Okay. We're going to add to the IP address .nip.io. .nip.io and okay. And then yeah. So and the key should be Q. So the key should be cube ingress space domain. So we have the value and .nip.io. So once you're there, feel free to add the variable. So again, make sure that you're not at the group level and you make sure you are at the group level, not at the project level, and you're adding the variables at the right place as well. So once you add the variable, you should be good to go. So let's refresh. Now we see we can expand and see the variable. Awesome. Now, just to make sure, because if you've added the variable to one of the projects, it will not work and it will fail. So now at this point, we can go ahead and click on the finish challenge. Do let us know if you're stuck anywhere and we can help you kind of get through it. And yeah, we are going to be on to the next step with Ted in a moment. Actually, as you're running our pipeline, setting up the scanners, and the rest of the actually cool stuff, we get to do the run the platform. So now I think at this point we are getting onto the part with GitLab. I think it's a good spot for maybe a bit of a break and then give it over to Ted. What do you think? Sorry, Ted. Yeah, so do you think it's a good time for a quick break, 5-10 minutes or so, for everybody to get catch up to the stage, and then you can kind of take over from there?
Yeah, works for me. Sounds good. All right.
Perfect. All right. So yeah, we're going to be back in 5 minutes or so, and let us know if you have any questions. We're going to help you meanwhile. Okay. I'm just going to stop sharing my screen, but we'll be available to answer your questions meanwhile. think it's a good idea to just do a poll, see where everyone's in once they're back, see if they, having trouble, maybe they need help. So I'll just done a poll. So hopefully, once everyone's back, they can let us know, and then it's about 8 or so minutes, and you can take over.
Sounds good to me. Let's do that. All right. So it's been 5 minutes. I think we can keep going. Thank you all for replying to the check-in. It seems like we're going at a decent speed, but maybe we could be slowing things down for a couple of people. So I will try to keep that in mind going forward with the rest of the workshop. So talking about that, what am I going to go over in this section? So maybe just to review what we've done so far, right? Greg has just walked us through the migration of our project from GitHub to GitLab and got us set up with our agent, which allows us to integrate with our Kubernetes cluster. So next, what I want to do is go ahead and focus on some aspects of the actual GitLab DevSecOps toolchain and the benefits that come with leveraging it. Now, before we get into it, I'd like to address a couple of key facts about GitLab CI/CD. First of all, GitLab's CI/CD is generally defined within a YAML file, which usually sits in the root of each project, which means you can easily add, edit, or remove anything within your pipeline by simply adjusting the file. Next, GitLab offers templating. The idea here is to say that building out each and every job that you might need to run. So for example, static application security testing or SAST, secret detection, license scanning, all of this can be quite a bit of work. And so what GitLab wants to offer is a variety of templates which are continuously maintained and can easily be included into any of your projects to help you get up and running quickly and easily. One aspect of this is called Auto DevOps, and it's one solution which is based on templates, which we'll address later on in this workshop. And now finally, we also want to make sure that we offer you not just the freedom to use our templates, but make sure that you can use your own custom pipelines. What we want to allow you to do is configure both your own custom jobs. So for example, integrating with existing tools and processes that you need for your business, as well as integrating with specific GitLab templates. So now that we're on the topic of templates, let's take a look at some of the templates and scanners that GitLab can offer. So here are just 6 examples, but starting off, we have static application security testing, or SAST. The idea here is that we analyze your source code for known vulnerabilities that were introduced during the development process. Dynamic application security testing, or DAST, will analyze a running application for vulnerabilities by attempting to hack into your application. GitLab also offers container scanning, which scans your Docker image artifacts for vulnerabilities in built application containers and any base images. We also have dependency scanning, which will look at vulnerabilities within any of the open source components that you use, and license scanning, which will look for the licenses of those open source components that you use and see if they're compliant with your set policies. The last example we have here is secret detection. The idea here is that we're looking for secrets that were unintentionally committed into your source code. And GitLab will also revoke any GitLab tokens that were found. And again, the idea here is that you can mix and match and use any of these templates within your custom CI/CD pipeline. But now, how do these scanners really fit into the bigger picture and help you reach your ideal software development lifecycle? So to address this, let's review the developer's workflow with GitLab. So everything starts with a GitLab issue, which we can see over here on the left-hand side. The idea of an issue is just to track a piece of work that needs to be done. Now, our developer who wants to address this issue can go ahead and create a merge request, which allows them to start working on that topic defined in the issue. Now, with each code commit that our developer does, we will go ahead and kick off a CI pipeline, which could include security scans, might deploy review applications, and so on. And basically, once our CI pipeline runs, we get feedback. And this is where we can discuss and look at the code and security reviews and see, are we happy with the code changes? Do they comply with our security standards? Or do we need to reiterate and start this whole process again? Once we've reached a point where we say, look, we're okay with our change, we're happy with our changes, we can go ahead and approve these changes, merge these, close the issue, and then go ahead and deploy these changes to production. We can do this with our CD pipelines. And now the idea here is that our scanners really fit within this part of the section. By having these scanners placed early in our developer workflow, your developers can address security and compliance vulnerabilities at the time of development, instead of in a few weeks' time when found later in your software development lifecycle. Now, this concept is called shift left. As we can see here, we're moving the security scans as far left as we possibly can. And what this allows us to do is have our developers work a lot more efficiently. And we've often seen that not only can our developers work more efficiently, but this very often also leads to cost savings. So with that, let's get back to our project and implement a CI/CD pipeline. So let's continue on with our instruct here. So step one, we should head back to our workshop project, I have it open right here. However, if you're not able to find it, you can also go ahead and simply look for workshop project in the search bar on the top left, and you should be able to directly find that in here. Now, there are a couple of settings that we need to adjust in order to kick off our CI/CD pipeline. The first thing is we will need to add a variable. So what we're going to go ahead and do is go to Settings and CI/CD, which is going to be here on the left-hand side. So we go to the Settings menu, and then go to the CI/CD section. We will look for the variable section. And on the right-hand side, we see the expand button, which we're going to go ahead and click. We'll click the add variable button. And now what we're going to do is add this test disabled variable in here. We're going to define the value as true. And we want to make sure that we have both the protect variable and mask variable flag turned off. And what this allows us to do is add some custom configuration to our CI/CD pipeline. Now, the second part in here is we want to enable auto DevOps. Now, the idea of auto DevOps really is to say we don't even have to create that initial YAML file to define our CI/CD pipeline. By enabling auto DevOps, we can tell our project that, look, if there isn't a YAML file, use various different GitLab templates based on the code within the project to create our out-of-the-box pipeline. So let's go ahead and do that. On the same page, let's look for the Auto DevOps section over here. Go to the right, click Expand, and then click the checkbox to enable default to Auto DevOps pipeline. And what we're going to do here is click the Save Changes button. And now what this is going to do is it's going to kick off a pipeline automatically. So let's go ahead and take a look at that. As described here in step 5, we want to go to CI/CD and pipelines, which is going to be on the left-hand side here. So CI/CD and then pipelines. And as we can see here, we currently have one pipeline and it's currently running. So let's go ahead and click into this. And here is where we can see all the different stages and jobs that Auto DevOps has initialized for us. We can see that our application is being built. A variety of tests are being run. So for example, code quality, container scanning, dependency scanning, license scanning, secret detection, and static application security testing. Auto DevOps also goes ahead and spins up a review instance for us. And with this review instance, we can do dynamic application security testing. Afterwards, it will go ahead and push everything to production, where it will run some performance tests and finally clean everything up. Again, all of this happened without us having to write any kind of code or define anything in a YAML file. If we wanted to do that, however, there are a couple of ways, and I'll show you how we could go ahead and do this in the GitLab UI. So on the left-hand side, we can go one menu item further down and click on Editor. And as you can see here, we currently don't have any GitLab CI YAML file defined, which is why Auto DevOps is running in this case. So what we could do is configure a pipeline in here. And this is what a very plain basic pipeline would look like. We could have a variety of different stages in here, such as a build, a test, or deploy stage. And each of these stages would have jobs. So we could have a build job, which is applied to the build stage, a unit and a lint test job, which are both applied to the test stage, and a deploy job, which is applied to the deploy stage. Now, if you're not familiar with the command echo, all this is basically doing is printing out some text to the screen. So this really isn't a very complex YAML file that we've defined here. And if we want to go ahead and visualize this, we can click on the Visualize tab. And sure enough, we can see the different stages. and the different jobs that go along with that. Now, just to show you a little bit about what I was talking about earlier, that customization, allowing you to have your custom defined jobs within your YAML file, as well as using some of GitLab's templates. We can go back to edit and copy an instruction in here. We could, for example, add an include instruction where we ask to include a template and which specific template, the SAS template. And now what we would be seeing here is that with these two simple lines, all of these tests have now automatically been added in here. And what happens behind the scene is that GitLab will take our originally defined YAML, look for those included templates, and then merge them into one unified YAML. If we were to take a look at that, by clicking the View Merged YAML tab, we can see all the YAML that was actually added to our pipeline definition to add static application security testing. So this just not part of our workshop necessarily, just showing you while our pipeline is running, how this could potentially look like. Now, if I go back to pipelines and go back to the pipeline that we were running, we can see that it still has a ways to go. And so at this point, just I would say we take a short, maybe 15-minute break to make sure that this pipeline actually runs through for everybody. And I would say in about 15 minutes, we come back and yeah, continue from there. All right, everyone. So I think we've left enough time for our pipelines to finish up. So I think we can go ahead and continue the workshop. So I'll go ahead and reload this page and take a look. All right, let's see here. Seems like I ran into a minor issue. Let's see. Go ahead and try to rerun this. I hope everybody else has had no problems with this step, and hoping it's just me. In the meantime, while that's running, I will go ahead and see if I can't find another instance where this is running. So please bear with me here and give me just 1 second. All right. So I do have another instance here, which I'm going to pull up just to show you what this would look like. So ideally, for all of you, we should be able to see that the entire pipeline has actually run. So we have the build, test, review and stages being complete all the way out to production. And now, if we look at our instruct steps here, let's go down to step number 9, where we'll be able to ideally see our deployments. And so let's head over to the deployments menu item and into the environments submenu item. So for that, let's go over to deployments over here on the left and to environments. Now you should be able to see the production environment in here and open a live environment. Now, this is an older instance for me, so I don't think this is going to spin up necessarily. However, I hope that it does for you. And you should be able to see a production version of this application running. Now, one thing that we've noticed when we looked at our CI/CD pipeline that we just ran was not just that we deployed our changes to production, but we also ran a variety of security scans. So let's go ahead and continue with step 2 down here and take a look at the result of those security scans. So what we're first going to do is go to security and compliance on the left-hand side, and then to the vulnerability report. So I'll go to security and compliance, and then to vulnerability report. Now, here we can see a variety of different vulnerabilities that were found throughout various different pipelines running a variety of different tests. And one thing that we can see here is we have a vulnerability that was found in the run.py file, and it has to do with an AWS access token that was detected. So go ahead and click on this specific vulnerability, AWS access token detected, in the run.py file in your system. Now, if we take a look at this, we can get some more information. So again, we can see that has to do with an AWS token that was detected. It's a critical vulnerability in our case. We can see the project that this was detected in, the tool and the scanner that was used, as well as the exact location. So this vulnerability was found in the run.py file, line 4. Additionally, we can also see the exact pipeline in which this vulnerability was detected. Now, the great thing is that this isn't just a static piece of information. This is an actionable detected vulnerability. So what we can go ahead and do here, I've already added a linked item. However, what you can do, and I'll just go ahead and delete this linked item here and reload the page so that we have the same view in here. Just give me 1 second. There we go. So this is what you should be seeing ideally. And as mentioned, this is actionable, right? So we can go ahead and take this vulnerability and create an issue. So let's go ahead and do that. In step 3, we can see that indeed we should go ahead and take a look at this and create the issue. So let's click the Create Issue button. At this point, we see a bunch of information automatically being populated in this issue. We can see the title being added. We can see description being added. And if we click on preview, we can also see this in a prettier version. So again, showing us some detailed information. And what we want to do is, first of all, go ahead and assign this to ourselves. And then also disable the option to make this issue confidential. Now with that, let's go ahead and create our issue. So if we remember from our developer workflow, right, we create an issue. The next thing we want to do is go ahead and create a merge request. There are a couple of things that I want to go ahead and set up beforehand. So what we're going to do is go to step 3, which is edit security scan policies, and generally make some changes here. So the first thing that we're going to do in step 1 here is go to settings and merge request. So for that, let's head over to the left-hand side to the settings menu option and go to merge requests. We'll want to scroll all the way down until we see the approval settings. Now, the important piece here, as we can see still in step 1, is that we want the prevent approval by author to be disabled. So please make sure that there is no check mark here. And then go ahead and click the Save Changes button. What this basically allows us to do is when we do eventually go ahead and create that merge request, we can also be the ones that approve. Exactly. Now, the next thing that we want to do is create a policy. And so if we go ahead to step 2 here, we can see that we need to go to security, compliance, and then into the policies submenu. Go to security, compliance, and to policies. Now, I already have a policy in here. However, you should not actually be seeing any policy in here at the moment. What you should be able to do is click the new policy button on the top right here. So let's go ahead and do that. We'll select the scan results policy. And so click on the select policy button in here. And what we're going to do is first set the title. So this policy has to do with secret detection. In the description, we're going to add, do not allow any secrets to be committed. So that's the idea behind this policy that we're really adding in here. And the way this works is first we define a set of rules, which is going to be in step 5 over here, where we first select the scan type, which is going to be a security scan. We want to make sure that the only scanner selected in here is going to be secret detection. So I'll go ahead and clear all, and then click on secret detection. For the severity levels, we'll just go ahead and select all. And we'll do the same with vulnerability states. So what this basically means is in the future, for example, if we do find something similar to our AWS secret that was detected, this policy will be set in place. This policy will basically be triggered. And so that's because of the rules that we defined. However, we still need to define what action should be taken. And so what we want to do is we want to require a single approver, in this case, an individual user, and we're going to select ourselves here. So just find your name in this list. You can also use the search functionality in here and add yourself. Finally, go ahead and click on configure with a merge request. Now, because I already have this in place, it's not going to allow me to do it. So I'm just going to rename it to secret detection 2, just so that I can show you what this next screen would look like. You'll be redirected to a merge request. And in this case, just go ahead and click the merge button right here. So that's as described over here in step 8. Now, one thing you'll notice is that we are no longer in our workshop project, but we're actually in a new project called the Workshop Project Security Policy Project. So let's go ahead and just click on this. And as described in step number 10, scroll all the way down here until you hit default branch protection setting. And here you're going to find a link back to our workshop project. Awesome. So now we're all set up and we can go ahead and actually create our merge request and start addressing that AWS secret that was found. So let's go to step 4. Let's head back to the issues section over here on the left-hand side. We'll go ahead and click on that. And we should see our investigate vulnerability AWS access token detected issue. So let's click on that. And one thing that I've noticed here, just in case you forgot to change confidentiality levels here, go ahead and click on edit and turn these off and reload the page. If it's not confidential for you already, this is what you should be seeing anyway. And at this point, we can go ahead and based on this issue, create a merge request. So we'll do that by clicking this blue create merge request button. So here we can see some information being auto-populated. We see the title has, again, to do with the AWS access token, which was detected. In the description, we can see some quick commands or quick actions, which basically link back to that original issue, saying that once we've merged these changes, this will automatically close that issue that we've created. And then we see a couple of options here. However, the only thing that we're going to do is assign this to ourselves. Now, finally, scroll down to the bottom and click on the blue create merge request button. Great. So now we've gone ahead, we found that vulnerability, we've created the issue in order to address that vulnerability. We've created a merge request in order to make the necessary changes. And so finally, let's implement those changes. So go ahead and click on step 5. And the first thing that we want to do over here, if you're not already in the merge request, you can get to it by clicking the merge request menu item over here on the left-hand side. However, we're already in it. And once you're here, go ahead and click on code. And then in the dropdown, click on open the web IDE. So we'll go ahead and do that. Up here, we can see the code button. We click on that and click on open in web IDE. So if we remember from our issue, the problem was in the run.py file, which we can see all the way on the bottom here. So let's go ahead and click on that. And sure enough, we can see in line 4, the AWS key was added in here. So let's go ahead and just delete that for now. With the necessary changes made, we can go ahead to the left-hand side under the source control menu item, click commit and push, and select the no use the current branch, which is our branch that was created for the specific merge request. Now what we can do is go back to our project, go to the CI/CD menu, and under pipelines, as we can see over on the right-hand side in step 5. And we can see a pipeline has now been triggered. We can click on the pipeline itself, and again, see the various different stages that Auto DevOps has automatically initialized for us. So again, we see a build, a test and review stage. We see dynamic application security testing, and we see performance testing as well as a cleanup. And one thing that you'll notice here is that we're not actually pushing our changes to production, because as we've discussed in that developer workflow, we're not on that main branch, we're working on a feature branch. So Auto DevOps will also automatically choose to not push this into production. So again, this is a pipeline that's going to run a while. I don't want to take another 15-minute break. So while this is running for you, I'm just going to show you an example of what this will look like once it's complete. So as you can see here, this ran for me for about 11 minutes. After 11 minutes, sure enough, my pipeline finished up and everything worked out. So now we can go back to our merge request, which we can do up here by clicking on the link. And once this is run, we can see a bunch of information within the merge request. So we can see the pipeline that we just ran. We can see that approval is optional. And why is approval optional? We set a policy earlier that says, look, if we do find a secret, we do require an approval. Well, the reason is, as we can see down here in our security scanning, and if we click on the expand button here, that by removing that line of code, no new secrets, no new vulnerabilities were detected. So indeed, we actually do not need approval for this change. So now we see that we've actually addressed the vulnerability, and we can go ahead and merge this change. So we'll mark this as ready, and then click on the merge button. And again, this will take some time for your pipeline to run through. But again, just showing what this could look like once it gets there. All right, so this is addressing that specific vulnerability. And if we go back to the vulnerability report by going to security and compliance under vulnerability report, we can now see that for this specific vulnerability, we do have an issue, and this issue was closed. So we can see that we've actually addressed this. And now, for example, somebody from our security team can go ahead, read through that issue, read through the vulnerability, and eventually click on this and change the setting or the status to resolved. All right. So with that, that finishes that part of the instructions, and we can go ahead and address this last topic here. So this last step, the transfer of a project into a namespace you control, is entirely optional. And we will not necessarily be running through this today. However, you do have the option to do this. But before you do, please make sure that you've managed to get through all of the steps that we've discussed today. And if you do want to do this, as mentioned, we do have Instruct open for you to look at the instructions there and see how this is done. One very important aspect to remember here is that this workshop was run with a GitLab Ultimate license. And so if you do transfer this project in the future to a GitLab instance that doesn't have an Ultimate license, you will not have all the same features that we've seen today. All right. So with that, let's go ahead and finish things off with some closing remarks. So what we've seen today is just a small part of the entire platform GitLab has to offer to support you in your entire DevSecOps journey. Forrester Consulting recently announced the results of their total economic impact study, where they looked at the return of investment that could be realized with GitLab Ultimate. Now, Forrester found that as a result of implementing GitLab Ultimate, customers saw a 12-time increase in annual releases for revenue-generating applications, 87% improvement in development and delivery efficiency, a total return on investment of 427% over the course of 3 years. And they even saw payback on that investment in less than 6 months, which is especially critical now in the current economic environment. So all in all, what we can say is we've seen improvement in cycle time, which has led to revenue acceleration. We've seen better user experience, which helped with higher productivity. We've seen reduced amounts of tools, and therefore the amount of tool integrations that need to be implemented and maintained. And all this has again led to lower costs. And because we have less tools that we need to integrate, we also have less vendors, and therefore reduced license costs here as well. And now let's see how GitLab in a couple of ways is able to help with these topics. And the first topic here is, how can GitLab assist us with security? Well, if we look back to 2021, Sonatype created a report. And the good news is that throughout the past decade, security of open source software projects has improved overall, with an average time to update vulnerable code dropping to 28 days in 2021, compared to 371 days about a decade ago. Now, the bad news, just as security for those software projects has improved, so have the ways in which people try to attack those software projects. The report counted the number of attacks documented to have increased drastically and have reached a 650% year-over-year increase in 2021. So with such a drastic increase in attacks, companies obviously want to be able to detect and address any security vulnerabilities quickly and easily. And again, this is where that idea of shift left comes in, right? The idea of finding and addressing found vulnerabilities early in your software development lifecycle. And this is what companies are focusing on now. Our 2022 survey showed that 57% of security team members said that their organizations are shifting left now or plan to do so in the near future. And we can see a lot of security scanning to increase in the developer landscape. So for example, we're seeing SAST, DAST, container, dependency, license scanning, all increasing by 50+%. We're also seeing urgency in this matter, as 43% of security professionals feel like they were only somewhat or even very unprepared for the future. And again, we here at GitLab have a big focus on shifting left by enabling our customers to address various aspects of security and license scanning much earlier. And again, this is not offered through a large number of integrations that need to be built and maintained, but through a single platform that offers up-to-date, maintained scanners to help you shift left quickly and easily. Now, we also would like to address the topic of why GitLab for CI/CD. I think we've mentioned it a couple of times today, but GitLab offers templates. And the idea behind these templates really, again, is to allow you to create and share your CI/CD capabilities within your organizations. You can either share your custom templates that you create or predefined GitLab templates like our security scanners. All of these templates are defined in YAML and can be added to other pipelines, which you can do with just that simple include statement. In the end, all of this helps you to be more efficient by reusing predefined CI/CD jobs and allows you to also ensure compliance within your company by defining jobs for your entire organization. And talking about compliance, GitLab offers specific compliance pipelines, which are part of our compliance framework. With this, you can make sure that your pipelines are secure by always running specific jobs within your projects defined in your compliance framework. And again, all of this through a single platform. And finally, we saw Auto DevOps today. Auto DevOps is a great way to get started on your CI/CD project without having to really do much like define your YAML file. It was really just done by enabling it in the settings. And with that, you were able to access a wide variety of jobs and security scanners and so on that GitLab has to offer. And don't just take my word for it. We've been able to support a variety of customers through their DevSecOps journey, like Goldman Sachs or Siemens. And we encourage you to take a look at how we were able to do so on our website. Now, with that, I would like to thank every one of you for spending time with us today to learn about GitLab. As mentioned throughout, a recording will be sent to you along with a survey link via email in just a few days. And we always welcome your feedback to be able to build more great workshops for you. So please, if you do get the survey, please take a few minutes and give us your feedback on how you thought things went today and how we can go ahead and improve. So with that, from all of us here at GitLab, we wish you an awesome rest of your day.